create a new one. Okay. So let's see how this new one kicks out. Let me see. 6 second delay. That ain't too bad. I can manage that. Okay. It's a lot better. It's a lot better. I mean, okay. Anyway, we're about to go back to it. A surprise and everything's right. Everything's right. Alright, cool. Cool. That makes me happy. 6 second delay, better than 30.
I've now literally gotten hundreds.
We're at 31, 51, 52.
Hundreds of people's jobs through this program, and we're just getting started. Now, there's some other amazing folks that we have to thank, and my thank you is gonna be a little odd here because we're gonna do something bigger, right? First and foremost, I have to thank our moderators, our fearless moderators that are always here in Twitch chat, on Discord. Discord's the wild, wild west, y'all. Nobody's ever done this. Nobody's ever thrown 28,000 people into a Discord and have it run with the level of success that we've had. We went from like 0 to 28,000 in less than a year. And so that to me is absolutely wild. Well, sorry, we went from like 2,000, 28,000 in less than a year. So that, if you've ever been on Discord and it wasn't a hot mess, if it wasn't run amok with trolls and spam, that's because of the moderator team. And so I'm going to thank each moderator personally, but tonight's not that night because I have something bigger planned. So each mod I'm going to thank individually because they deserve it. But that's not tonight. That's gonna be and something that we're gonna talk about in a few seconds. Then I have to thank all of our mentors, our helpers, our folks that show up time and time again to help folks in the community, that answer questions in our help channels, that answer questions in our support channels. This doesn't work without y'all too. And then the biggest folks, again, the alumni that are in those channels, answering your questions, giving up their time. They already went through the boot camp.
Okay.
They have a job, and they come back on Twitch, on Discord to continue to help the next group of folks make it through. That to me is the whole point of this. The whole point of this is not 100.
See how this turns out.
It's for those folks to now bring 3 more with them. So 100 quickly turns into 300. And then I think we have some bigger goals that we need to hit too. And when we made that ask, we made the ask to our alumni, hey, come back.
Okay.
Can you help with the study communities? Can you help with new events? They answer the call every single time. And so a huge shout out to the alumni that come back and give their time. They made it to the promised land and they're coming back to pull more folks with you. So we thank you for being here. We thank the alumni. We thank the moderators. We thanked all of our helpers on Discord. But I want to do a little bit something bigger. I want to do something a little bit bigger. And last cohort, we did something that was one of my favorite parts of the cohort. And we're going to do it again. I'm introducing the best week ever. Now, last cohort, we had the best week ever. But this cohort, we're really about to have the best week ever. So next week will be the best week ever. We're going to do some really amazing stuff. We got some things that people have been asking for a long time. We got merch dropping. We got agency opening up.
Remember, this is a lot further back.
Merch. We got a sponsored class by Microsoft. We got a lot of stuff, folks. So we got to get these wheels moving. We got to get these wheels moving. We got too many of us into really great places. We got to keep it moving. So next week is going to be the best week ever. We're going to have a chance to thank all the folks that have made this happen, to reveal some really big stuff, open it up way bigger than we've ever done it before. Have a sponsored class by Microsoft. Next week we learn Git and GitHub, and Microsoft is sponsoring it. GitHub is sponsoring it. We got swag, we got laptops, we got amazing stuff. So today was the best news ever. To set a goal and to knock that goal out the park through the stratosphere, to be way past 100 jobs. We're past 100. Like I don't know if you've been paying attention to that celebrations channel, but it's been kind of blowing up recently. Like every day there's somebody new in there. And so we're way past 100. I really honestly, me and Blah talk about this a little bit every once in a while. I really thought it'd be me and 10 people max, and I would help those 10 people, and that would be it. So I can't, in my wildest dreams, ever imagine that we have 3,000 plus people here, all trying to learn how to code, maybe change their lives, maybe get that job that they've always wanted, have that security for themselves and their loved ones, to have a career that's high growth that they know is setting them up for life. If you're here and you're ready to put in the work, I got you. It's no longer 100. We're going for something bigger. And so at this moment, we're setting up the best week ever. And on the first day of the best week ever, I think we got some big changes to make. I think we need a new goal. And so come back next week for the best week ever, because we got some bigger goals to hit. We got some bigger things we got to do. We got too good of a community. We got too good of a community to stop at 100. This is the best place to learn how to code live online. We online, folks. We're learning how to code. And if you're here, I know that you can do it too. I know that you can join these hundreds. You have the ability. You have the aptitude. You have the will. You have now the way that 100 other people have followed. You can do this too. Give yourself a little bit of grace. Give yourself a little bit of trust. Give me a little bit of trust in return. I think I earned a little bit of trust. I think after you get 100 people through that gate, I think I got a little bit of trust. So give me a little bit of trust, and we'll get you there too. Alrighty, folks. Thank you for enabling me to hit a goal that I set, that I really wanted to accomplish. This really is one of the best things that I've ever been able to accomplish in my life. It's something that I am super proud of, and it's just getting started. Next week, best week ever. Alrighty. Let's get into our review. I know, I feel like we're on top of the world, and I'm just kind of like, all right, job.
Yeah, now we got to get into the review.
now
All right,
job.
cool.
We had a lot of folks that.
Now we'll just start typing along.
Ranty mode. Let me make sure I go through these. We had some sound alerts. We had a hydration. Lip dab, thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. We had a lot of sound alerts. Dab was in here. Alrighty, folks. Thank you so much. Cool. Yeah, Bull. Hey, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Oh. People are saying, what about the funnest portfolios, the funnest projects? Well, since we're revealing the merch next week, we'll reveal who wins because they get that merch. So we'll wrap that into the best week ever, so that folks that know who they're winning, who won, actually know what they're getting. Yeah, cool. All right, let's get into our review. Let's get into our practice here. Programming. Remember, it feels so wild to just jump right into this.
Yeah.
A computer will do what you tell it
to do.
Right? A computer will do what we tell it to do. What is a program? Ooh, I'm sorry, I'm still in big league. Computer will do what we tell it to do. What is a program? Well, a program is a set of instructions that we write to tell the computer what to do. What is programming? Programming is the task of writing those instructions in a language that the computer can understand. We use use JavaScript to write those instructions because it's a little bit more human readable. It's something that we can understand and share that can then be broken down into something that the computer can understand. JavaScript has a specific syntax that we've been learning, all these little extra bits and bobs that make up the spelling and grammar rules of the language, parentheses there, curly braces there. JavaScript has a specific syntax that we have to learn and pick up. We learned about the big four, right? I'm too hyped to focus. I feel the same way too. I'm like, we learned about the big four. We learned about variables. Variables are a way of storing a value to be used later on. We literally store it into the memory of the computer so we can use those values later on. We can declare a variable and assign it at the same time. That's what we're seeing here. A declaration.
Or we could do it in two different steps.
We also learned about conditionals, where conditionals are where we check to see if something is true, and if it is true, we do what's in those curly braces, and then we stop. That's it. But if it's not true, we move on to our else if to check if that's true. If it is, we do what's inside those curly braces, and then we stop. But if the if is not true and any of our else ifs, because we can have multiple, are not true, our else can auto-magically run. And if that else automatically runs, it doesn't check anything. It just does what's inside the curly braces. We talked about danger of assignment versus comparison. This idea that when we're inside of our conditionals, if we just do one equal sign, that's assigning a variable. It's not comparing anything. We'll run into some issues. All right. We learned about multiple conditions where we can have this double ampersand where both of these conditions must be true. And today is the day where I feel it the most, folks. Today's the day where I feel it the most.
He's about to wink at the camera.
And in this moment, my status truly is balling. That's all I'm going to say it. Hey, you get a wink. There you go. Can't say shit to me today. That's all I got to say. We also have or, right? We also have or, where as long as it is Saturday or Sunday, just one of these conditions is true, then we can say it's the weekend. We learned about functions. Chat, what are functions? What do they enable us to do?
Functions enable us to do
what do they enable us to do?
Task a certain amount of times.
Yeah, they're just sets of instructions. They're our building blocks. It's how we build up our programs. It's just sets of instructions, and they're reusable. The cool thing is that we're starting to see these functions kind of seep in everywhere. At first, we just had regular function declarations, right? Where we had a function and then a regular call. But now we're also seeing like anonymous functions where they're kind of thrown in, where functions are taking in functions, right? We have this idea of like higher order functions and these other things that are coming in. We're passing in arrow functions. So they become a really essential piece of how we write our JavaScript. And it's really important that we understand how to use them. So we're going to see a lot of functions today. Again, we're going to see a lot of functions being used with our methods when it comes to arrays and objects, but they really are the fundamental building blocks of our program. They're meant to be reusable so that we can repeat actions without having to retype the code over and over again. So here we have a function call. We're passing in hello as an argument. It falls into our parameter of word. Wherever we see word, it's actually hello.
Hello.
You can think of functions with parameters as Mad Libs. Exactly, Dab. That's a really good analogy. You're just filling in the blanks. Beautiful. Loops. What are loops? Dab, when are you streaming again? Come on.
Loops are
now more than ever.
Loops are how we do a certain task over and over again.
Can you get a stream, Dab?
Yeah, right. I got it. I got it. Functions are simple building blocks.
Computer so soon? Hell yeah, let's go.
Okay.
As part of our stream team, these 100
yeah, honored, man.
The stream team.
For the life of me.
The stream team willed folks across that finish line. There are folks on this list of the 100 that are only there because of what Dab did, what OCC did, and creating a space where they can continue to learn, where they could ask questions. So there are folks on this list that pulled individuals through, whether through code or support, They're on that list because of them. So big shout out to our stream team. Dab, we need you back. OCC, we need you back too. I see you in chat. Let's go.
See something.
Like I said, I wanted to put out the general thank you, but next week, best week ever. I'm putting it I'm calling you out. Your name's gonna be in the slides. if you don't want me to put your business out there, let me know. Because we got too many big folks to thank. Dab A, thank you for the gift of subs. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all you do. All right. Loops. What are loops? We already saw some folks in chat. We have the ability to repeat an action multiple times, right? We have the ability to repeat an action multiple times. We saw a couple loops so far. We saw for, while, and we got to arrays. We saw a couple other big loops as well. We saw things like for each, map. We're gonna see some other ones today too that enable us to loop through content and do some stuff with it. We have our traditional for loop where we set up our increment. We say how far until the loop stops. We go up by 1 each iteration. And so in this case, we'd be just printing our numbers to the console until we hit our end condition. Beautiful. We also have a while loop, which is another similar loop where we start off our count. And then inside of our count, we go up by 1 each time. So a little bit different where we don't have in our for loop all the stuff set up right away. We have the increment that we're keeping track of. We're incrementing it inside of the loop, and we still have our condition that's being checked each time. Cool. I don't get the difference between I equals 0 and I equals 1. When do we use one versus the other? All that is when you want to start, right? All it is when you want to, where you want to start. Do you want to start counting at 0 or do you want to start counting at 1? The reason why you will see a lot of folks start off with 0, especially if you're working with arrays, right? If you're gonna loop through values in an array, it's always probably a really good idea to start with 0 because the index of that array starts at 0, right? So if you started at 1, you would always skip the first value in the array. Cool. So in that case, if you're looping through things in an array, you have to start at 0 or else you're going to be missing things. If you're just trying to use the increment as a counter, you don't need to count 0. You can just start at 1. So like if you're trying to say like 1, 2, 3, 4, you can start at 1. But if you're working with arrays, you're probably going to start at 0. And a lot of engineers kind of just start with 0 out of habit. Even if they were just going to count, they would still start with 0. Yeah. Alrighty. Today, we have all of our review code is Power Ranger themed. We're going to get some morphin time going on. For those that don't know, the best TV shows ever made are The Bachelor, followed up by The Power Rangers. We, of course, have today highlighted for us the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Then we'll move into the Alien Rangers. Then we'll hit some Zeo, maybe a little bit of Turbo, you know? If we're feeling really, really good, we'll maybe do a little bit of space, a little bit of Lost Galaxy, a little bit of Lightspeed, you know? We'll slow down, though. We'll slow down once we get the Time Force, Space Force, you know, all that fun stuff. But for tonight, we're going to start with our Mighty Morphin review. Let's go ahead and open that up. Oh, no, did I not have it open already? A second. There we go. I'm going to open it up. We have the Mighty Morphin review. Let's go ahead and open up this Mighty Morphin review. We have the JavaScript file. There's review for variables, functions, conditionals, and loops. We're gonna put, where are we at time-wise? Let's put 7 minutes on the clock here. 7 minutes on the clock. See how far you can get in these 7 minutes. And then we will stop. We'll take our break, and then we'll come back from the break to review. So 7 minutes on the clock. You got this. Dig deep. And then we'll review after our break. So 7 minutes, dig in, you got this. Mighty Morphin review.
Declare
Well,
valuable and
CC's not
reassign it to
surprises,
your
yeah, they can't
favorite
help themselves.
holiday.
Not the Jurassic, but they got to go hard.
I'm gonna use let because I'm gonna reassign it. Let make one.
Update your VS Code? No, I haven't read the release yet. The release notes yet. I haven't read the release notes yet. I don't update. Definitely not midstream. Let's just click that little XC poo there.
Before
Live
Christmas.
dangerously. Where can I find the stream team, folks? Yes, we have a special channel. So whenever folks go live on the stream team, you can see their notification and go live. There's a stream team channel on Discord. Make sure you turn that notification on. As we have folks streaming on the stream team again, we have a lot of new folks that are kind of in the process of joining the stream team. We have 2 that are ready to go, and so
That should work like that.
We'll have their
Okay.
their joining of the team, and we'll make it a big deal.
Very variable. Right.
Can we have another Twitter space with folks that got jobs? Yeah. Our goal, starting next week with the best week ever, is to do a space every week. So we're going to be mainly doing Discord spaces because it's a little bit better and it's just us. We don't have to worry about the riffraff coming in. But yeah, so we'll be doing some Twitter spaces, but a lot of Discord spaces as well. And we're going to try and do that once a week. I don't understand what the stream team is. It's just a group of folks that stream learning to code or coding that are part of the 100 Devs family.
You know what? I made that more confusing than I needed to. Literally just did. My brain.
Vanilla chai tea.
My brain just went.
Water.
Hey, this was up. I don't know what I was doing. Anyway, string. How can I do that? I could do.
I like seltzer.
I'll alert
It
the
makes
last
me,
one.
do some sounds I don't think y'all need to hear. Yeah, I like that too. Blah said, no code weenies, no gatekeepers, nobody trying to sell you anything.
First off, turn it into an array. How would I turn it into an array? I think I was on the right path.
I ain't trying to Beyblade it up on stream. Lee, no, definitely start. You gotta do it for a while, and then once you've been doing it for a while, we look at your VODs and make the call to add you or not.
Sweat, and then
It's awesome to hear. Thank you for joining us. Can I buy a sub with my Leon dollars? You can get all the stuff, like you can get all the emotes and stuff by using your channel points. Yeah.
wow, I'm lost. What's going on with me?
The stream team is on Twitch.
Like, and this is just using functions. Hold on, I'm not gonna quit though. MDM.
What? That's amazing. You got promoted to mid-level. Right now you're working on first solo large site-wide feature. That's amazing. Congrats. That's huge. Well deserved.
I turn string into a turn string into an array.
You get more channel points if you sub, unfortunately.
That's
yeah,
alright.
unfortunately when you sub that like increases the rate. Yeah. I mean, it's a perk, but I don't want folks to ever feel like they have to sub. JW330A, thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you.
Dang. I forgot to say in JavaScript. Because of course they don't know. Sorry, I got Claude down here. Oh no. Oh no. Wake up. Oh no, wake up.
Candacer, is there
That
something
ain't
to
good.
the commands work? No, sometimes just multiple people have used the commands, and so it's not like it tries to stop people from spamming them, basically.
No, not interested. The split method. Cool, cool, cool. Cool, 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 cool. String, right? String split. Cool. That's what I did.
J. John, this is Stream Beats by Harris Hiller.
So now. Good, that's fine.
Kabaddi, all of
Slice.
our subs and donations
See,
and stuff
I
like
was
that
about
go
to do that.
Resilient Coders, which is the nonprofit I work at during the day. Which we'll probably announce in best week ever because we need to make our next like big payment.
Just learn it.
Can you program a Megazord with JavaScript? That'd be fun.
Slice, just slice.
Alrighty, folks.
Hey, if that's all I got done,
Come on back.
use your Google foo and
Alrighty.
DMDN.
Let's take a look at the first one together, and then we'll take our break. We'll take our first one together, and then we'll take a look at the break. We'll take a look at the first one together, and then we'll take our break. Well, declare a variable, reassign it to your favorite holiday. Make sure it's in all caps, and print the value to the console. If you want all the cap, what do we have to do?
2
Want it
uppercase.
in all caps. What could we do to make it all cap?
2 uppercase.
2 uppercase. 2 uppercase. So let's go ahead and create favorite holiday. So let favorite holiday equal, and we're going to say Halloween.
Harmony.
And then I want to reassign it to be in all caps. So I'm going to say fave holiday equals fave, and I could have done this all in one line. I'm just going to do it for readability. 2 uppercase, beautiful. 2 uppercase, and then print the value to the console. So console.log, and we'll print favorite holiday. Let's save this. Let's make sure that it is working. Open in default browser. Oh, look at that. That's good. Well, this is tradition. I have to do all the poses, and then we'll see if it worked. All right, let's go ahead and do it. All right, I'll put the all right, we'll do black first. Yellow. We're gonna go ahead and do green next. Red. We're gonna do pink. Before there was Charlene, there was the Pink Ranger, and then blue. There we go. Nice. Now we can see if it worked. All right. First try. Halloween is all capitalized. All right. All capitalized, and it looks like it's working. And so what we can do now is we can rest assured that we can take our break. So 5 minutes on the clock. If you're new around here, we like to be healthy. We like at the top of every hour to make sure we're letting our fingers and our eyes get a little bit of a break. So if you're able, please get up, move around, hydrate, and then be back in 5 minutes. We're going to go through the rest of this together, and we're going to move on. We got a lot of fun stuff to get to tonight. Really excited to get through a little bit more review and then get into our objects. Once we get the objects, everything starts to kind of click a little bit. Start to learn some of the mysteries that is JavaScript. So if you're interested in learning the mysteries of what is JavaScript, I'll see you in 5 minutes. Shit, I think I forgot to run ads. Oopsie. Yeah, I don't think they ran. Di, we always open up the links to submit the clips after class, so it'll be open after class. Super behind on the reading. That's okay, Noro. It's a lot. The reading this week was particularly a lot, so you'll notice that we've given a little bit more time for some of the reading. Lena Lux, hey! Thank you for the raid. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. Thanks for bringing the crew along. What were you working on? What were you up to this evening? How did the bug fixing today? Nice. How did the vote go? I know you were up for the award. How did that shake out? Has that happened yet? Welcome, Raiders. Hope you're doing well. For those that are new, we're doing a 30-week software engineering boot camp. Net reviewing some arrays
Alrighty.
projects in JavaScript. It's announced Friday. All right, let's go. Turn up. Fingers crossed. All right, right, folks, come on back. Let's get in here. You're not following Lena Lex. You're out of your mind at this point. I'm going to throw a shout out in chat. Boom. All right. Just gonna copy this myself. Definitely give them a follow if you haven't followed yet. Boom. Alrighty. Welcome back. Let's chill the music here. We got some review to get through. So before the raid, we had started working through this review, and so we had 10 minutes to do review, then we took our breaks, and now we're going to finish going through the problems together. All right. Declare a variable, assign it a string, and then alert the last 3 characters in the string. So this is one of those ones where you probably had to do some research. I had to do some research on this one. So let's go and take a look at it. Let's go and do the first thing. Let's declare our variable. So let's go ahead and do let fave power rangers equal, and then I am going to go with yeah, I'm saying it. I'm gonna say it. How that? I'm gonna say it. Not the favorite ranger. The favorite ranger is too. That's not something we can come to terms with tonight. Like, do you go black ranger? Do you go green ranger? Does the white ranger separate from the green ranger? And what version of Power Ranger are you talking about when you mention the green ranger? Because it changes. We can't get there tonight, so I'm gonna say my favorite Power Rangers series. There we go. Beautiful. Favorite Power Rangers series, because we can't get into that tonight. Ninja Storm's up there. I see some folks throwing that out there. I'm gonna go Alien Ranger. That's where the game got changed. The costuming, the movies. That's when it hit its stride, folks. All right. So I want to alert the last 3 characters of this string. So alert. What could I do? Who came up with a way to grab just the last 3 characters? Ooh, I see some folks with the slicing. I like that. Let's try that. Slice. So we're gonna do fave Power Ranger series. We're gonna do slice, and we're gonna do -3 because we want the last 3 characters. So this is one of those methods, right? We haven't. It was in some of the reading a little bit, but if you didn't see it in there, you had to research. You had to figure out. All right, what could I?
Oh, so I didn't even need to do this.
You had to Google. You had to dig deep, find a method. So let's see if this slice 3 -3 works, and then we'll talk about why it works if it does. Let's go back. Let's refresh. ERS. All right, ERS. Did that work? ERS. Let's see. ERS is the last 3 letters of Alien Rangers. Beautiful. That did work. So we have this slice. And slice is a method that could take in a bunch of numbers. And what we notice, if we pass in a negative number, it takes the last 3. So it's a beautiful way to just grab pieces of the string. Are there a bunch of other methods that you could use? Yes, there's substring. There's charat. We could treat the string as an array. There's all these other things that we could do. And one of the things, and one of the reasons why I asked you to do your Code Wars, right? No, Jones, the reason I asked you to do your Code Wars is because you learn all these little tricks and these gotchas and these methods, and you get to use them in a particular place. So that's a cool one. All right, first ready. Functions. Create a function that takes in 5 numbers. Subtract all 5 numbers from 100. Alert the absolute value of the difference. Call the function. All right, so let's go ahead and create our function. We're going to call -5 and abs for absolute. And we know we're taking in 5 numbers. Our parameters can be whatever we call. We could call them rainbow, unicorn, monster, fire truck, ping pong. It doesn't matter. But we're just going to know that they're numbers. So we'll do N1, N2, N3, N4, and N5. And then we have to subtract them all from 100. So let's set up our variable here. Let difference equal 100 minus n1 minus n2 minus n3 minus n4 minus n5. There we go. So that's the difference. And then alert the absolute value of the difference. So let's go ahead and do our alert. And how the heck can we get the absolute value? Woo, thank you, chat. We got the math dot absolute. And that's one of those things, like if you didn't know how to do it, you would have to go to the Googles, right? Absolute value in JavaScript. I might even throw an MDN on there just to get there, because we see the MDN has a math.absolute. Beautiful. Always go straight to the MDN. All right, there's an absolute function that returns the absolute value. So even if I didn't know what absolute value was, right? Even if I didn't know what that was, I could see that, oh, it's built in with this math object that we'll get to. In the MDN, we trust exactly. Now I can go back. I can trust that math.absolute is the right thing, and I'll pass in difference. All right, let's call the function as it asks, and we'll try it out. Had to use that on my Code Wars today. That's dope. That's awesome. Cool. Let's go ahead and do -5 and alert, -5 and absolute, and we're gonna pass in some numbers. Let's pass in 27, 83, 42, 1, and 5. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and run this and see what we get. Man, these poses just get you going. You just want to be like, ugh. You know what? What I'm talking about. Anybody ever gives you a problem, just hit that pose. Boom. Gets you going. All right, let's refresh. ERS 58. All right, so it worked. So we got the absolute value of 58, and we know that the absolute value is working because this would have, subtracting from 100, we would have been way below 0, and so the absolute value, the absolute value is working here because we're not getting a negative number. It's giving us the absolute value. People are saying interview pose. Could you just imagine? You're in your first technical interview, and the whole time you're just like this. You're just holding the pose. You're beast in the interview, by the way, right? You're beast in the interview, right? But after like each question, you're just like, right? They give you a behavioral question, you're like, they give you a technical question, you're like, right? But you're crushing it, right? I think you still get the job. I think if you're busting out the Power Ranger poses and you're crushing it, that's all the better. You heard that here. That's my advice. In technical interviews, please bust out your Power Ranger moves. Guaranteed to get the job. We don't get got. Dark Shinobi A, thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. Instant 20K hiring points, exactly. All right, first try. Going to the next one here. Create a function that takes in 3 numbers, console log the lowest and highest values. Interesting. All right. Function log high and low. And we're going to take in 3 numbers. So we'll just use the same kind of thing, N1, N2, and 3. And console log the lowest and the highest values. And so for me, the lowest and highest values, there's a couple ways I can get them. Anybody know what they did? Oh, I'm seeing some folks throwing out min and max. There is a math.min and a math.max. That is true. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and say let min equal math.min, and we will throw in n1, n2, and n3. And what that should do is, based on these values that we passed in, it should give us the minimum value and place it in the variable min. We could have also sorted it. That would have been a different way to go about it, like sorting it and then taking the first and last. That's totally a way that you could have done this as well. But let's see some of these methods, right? We'll see sorting later today. We'll see some sorting ones later on. So we'll come back to the sort in a little bit. All right, so we got math.min. Let's get max. Math.max. Let's pass in N1, N2, N3. Beautiful. So now we have the min and the max. Min and the max. Now we have the min and the max. What we need to do is like use them. So let's go ahead and, what does it say it wants us to do? Console log. Let's go ahead and do our log. And let's use a template literal. When I use a template literal, what am I starting my string off with? Like, how am I setting up my string? Could you have done this without declaring variables? Absolutely, but I like the readability of having the variables. Yeah, I got to use the backticks here. So I'm going to say the lowest num is, and then I can use my bling syntax where I can then go ahead and just put min in here is blank, and the highest num is, and I'll use my syntax again, and I'll throw in max. So the idea here is, since I've used my backticks, I can plug variables in using this bling syntax where I do $ and then the curly braces. Cool. All right, let's see if this works. Let's call it. So we'll call log high and low, and we're gonna pass in some values. Let's pass in 100, 50, and 25. So if this works, we should see 25 and 100 in the console. Yeah, way better than concatenating. Exactly, Juice. Let's go ahead and save this. Let's see if it works, and let's see where we're at. All right, we got the ers, we got the 58, and then we see the lowest num is 25, and the highest num is 100. So it looks like it's working, right? Looks like it's working. Alrighty. And we can take a peek at this, right? First try. We can take a peek at this, where what we did is we passed in all three numbers, right, as our parameters, and we passed our parameters into this min, and that just grabs the lowest number out of the three that we had passed in. Same thing for max. It's going to grab the highest number out of the three that we pass in, and then I'm just going to use my template literal here, my template string here, and I can pass my variables in without having to do any of that nasty concatenation. My bling syntax didn't work. Make sure you use the ticks and not quotes. If you don't use the backticks, it won't work. The backticks are on your tilde key. So here's a normal keyboard, and then like right above the tab is the tilde key. That's what you're gonna hit. Boom, 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 boom. I can't show you on my actual keyboard. My actual keyboard is in a very different spot right there, but on a normal keyboard, that's where it is. Above the tab. Yeah, and then like different countries, it's gonna be a different spot. Cool. I just showed you how dusty my keyboards are. It's kind of embarrassing, but it doesn't matter because first try. All right, next one. All right. Create a function. Create a function that returns heads or tails randomly as fairly as possible and call the function. As soon as you know we're going to be doing something randomly, what are we probably going to be using? Ryan, it is, yeah. Yeah, math.random. So we're seeing this math object comes with a lot of goodies, and we're going to use this random one as well. So let's go ahead and create a function. Since we're getting heads or tails, we're going to call this heads or tails. And let's just go ahead and set up the result of like the flip. So we can do like let result equal, and then we'll do math.random. So what math.random is going to do is it's going to return a value between 0 and 1. right? Math.random is going to return a value between 0 and 1. So if we want it to make it a 50-50 result, if we want it to be a 50-50 result, a heads or a tails, we could set up a conditional, right? We could do a conditional that checks for one half or the other half. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to set up a conditional. I'm going to do an if, and I'm going to say if result is less than what? Less than 0.5, exactly. If result is less than 0.5, we can, it's supposed to return. So we'll return heads. I guess we have to return like a string of heads, right? Return a string of heads. And then if it's not less than 0.5, the only other thing it can be would be what? The only other thing it could be would be tails, right? So the idea here is that math.random will return a number between 1 and 0. So half the time it'll be less than 0.5, and the other half it'll be 0.5 or greater, right? So one half it'll be less than 0.5, the other half will be 0.5 or greater, right? Now the reason why people are saying like, do we need the equals, is it's very specific. It goes from 0 to 1, but it's not inclusive of 1, right? So it's not inclusive of 1. So since it's not inclusive of 1, we don't have to do the less than or equal to. It's between 0 and 1, but doesn't include 1. Yeah. That's why we can just do less than 0.5. Cool. I think this should work. Looks good to me. Let's go ahead and call it. So let's throw it in a console log because it's a return, right? Since this is a return, if we just called it, it would poof in the thin air. I see the stretch. I got you. Let's see if this works, and then I got you, Nimog. All right, let's go ahead and do this. Heads or tails. We're gonna call it, and we're gonna call it inside the console log. Let's go back. Let's refresh. We got some others that have to run first. Boom, boom. And we got tails. Nice. Let's refresh the page.
Hold on a second.
Boom, we got heads. All right, so we know we're getting heads and tails. That worked beautifully. Couldn't have planned it better myself. All right. Cool. Let's go ahead and do this last one. First try. And we have a stretch.
It's weird.
Nimog 777. Thank you for the stretch. I'm going to do a real stretch. And you know, if you really want to see me stretching, there's only one way you can get that type of content. So, 1 second. Content you're missing, folks. Only 1 million channel points. Come on, what's 1 million channel points? Only 1 million channel points, and you get that lovely content. All right. Somebody said, how could we test this if it really works? Well, eventually we're going to get into testing our JavaScript. We're going to write test cases. So if you've been doing your Code Wars, you'll notice that Code Wars enables you to write test cases. See if this works or not, and we could run a bunch of them. So eventually we'll get to testing later on in program towards the end, but that's one way we can test to make sure this stuff really does work, to make sure it is like functioning heads or tails. Yeah. Alrighty, last one here. Create a function that takes in a number. Console log the result of heads or tails using the previous function x times, where x is the number passed into the function called the function. All right, hold on. Let me read this again. Create a function that takes in a number. I know I write these, but still sometimes I forget what I write. Create a function that takes in a number. Console log the result of heads or tails. So we're just gonna run the heads or tails function again. X times, where x is the number passed into the function. So all we're gonna do is we're just going to run the heads or tails multiple times. and just console log the result. So I'm just gonna comment that out so we don't actually have that running up here. And let's go and set this up. Function. We're gonna call this I think last time I called it what did I call it last? Yeah, flip Flipadelphia. There we go. So we're gonna call this Flipadelphia, and this is gonna be our function to flip a certain number of times. So it said X times, but we're just gonna put in here the number of times, right? So I'm just gonna use N, which is short for the number of times that we want this to run. And then we can set up a really simple for loop. So for let I equal 1, I'll start counting at 1. While I is less than, and we'll say including that number. One of the mistakes we've made in the past is where we forgot to include the equals, because we want to go from 1 including that number. So we'll say N, and then we'll do I++. Okay. And then we're going to have result equal, and we're just going to call this function heads or tails. Cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to call this heads or tails function each time the loop runs. And the cool thing is that this heads or tails function is already set up to return heads and already set up to return tails. So I actually don't need to do anything special other than console logging the result. All right, so this should work. Let's test it out. It's actually kind of hard to see this all in one line. So I think I'm actually going to do this function in one line. I think we'll come back and do this in one line because I'm kind of having a hard time getting them both on the page. Let's see if this works. Let's go ahead and call it Flipadelphia, and we're going to do this 10 times. We should see 10 results. We should see 10 like mixing of heads and tails. All right, let's go back. Let's refresh. Errors 58. All right, so we got 2 heads, 2 tails, and then 5 more heads and a tail. So this did run 10 times, and it was definitely felt heads more than tails. And so what we can do, let's make sure this runs one time.
I don't think mine actually ran.
One time. Let's see. And let's refresh. Boom, boom, boom. All right, so it does run one time.
Hold on, wait a minute.
Is we can
So I think I didn't console log it or something.
Result equal, and we're just gonna call this function heads or tails.
Okay.
Cool.
Try it again.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna call this heads or tails function each
still
time
didn't.
the loop runs, and the
equal. Okay, hold on.
and we could run a bunch of them. So eventually we'll get to testing later on in program towards the end. But that's one way we can. And the cool thing is that this heads or tails function is already set up to return heads and already set up to return tails. So I actually don't need to do anything special other than console logging the result.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought.
Right, so this should work. Let's test it out.
That's what I was thinking.
To see this all in one line. So I think I'm actually going to do this function in one line. I think we'll come back and do this in one line.
That's surely what I was thinking.
On the page. Let's see if this works. Let's go ahead.
There you go.
Call it.
It was me console logging. Got it.
And we're going to do this 10 times. We should see 10 results. We should see 10 like mixing of heads and tails. All right, let's go back. Let's refresh. Errors 58. All right, so we got 2 heads, 2 tails, and then 5 more heads and a tail. So this did run 10 times, And it was definitely felt heads more than tails. And so what we can do, let's make sure this runs one time. Let's make sure this runs one time. Let's see. And let's refresh. Boom, boom, boom. All right, so it does run one time. So what we can do is we can YOLO some channel points right now, folks. This is what we did. We just built ourselves a gambling machine. So let's YOLO some channel points. Some of you want to get that sweet OF content, but you need more points. So tonight's the night. Tonight's the night, folks. Let's go ahead. Start a prediction. Start a prediction. We're gonna say heads or tails, and the first outcome will be heads, and the second outcome will be tails. You have a minute to get in here, and I'm starting it now. All right, so you can join the prediction, heads or tails. You can risk as many channel points as you want, and then we're gonna refresh the page, and whatever it says, that's who wins. All right, let's see how many channel points people are throwing up on this. You only got a minute to get in here, folks. Ooh, 280,000 channel points on heads right now. Ooh, 400 to 300. Oh, we might hit 1,000. We might hit 1,000,000 channel points. Oh yeah, we're way over 1,000,000 channel points up for risk here, folks. Way over 1,000,000. Oh no, what did I unlock in all of you? Oh no. Oh no. 1.3 million to 1.2 million. All in, baby. Let's go. All right. Let's do it. For all the channel points, let's see what we get. All right, let's refresh the page. All right, we got our ERS. We got our 58. You ready? Tails has it. Tails got it. Let's see. Let me confirm the prediction. Choose outcome. 51% of you said tails. So 1.5 million up against 1.4 million.
Well, stream as of
outcome, it was tails.
Stream as of right now. I'm gonna take a pause. We're gonna pause it right here at 31:35, and we'll come back to it tomorrow and dive more into it, because it seems like apparently my brain has not only forgot, not my brain, but I have forgot. Maybe the instructions here aren't clear, but I do know I was double tasking, trying to make sure everything was right. So, but outside from that, I'll see y'all later. All right, peace.